A girl had just emerged from the water when she discovered in horror that her legs were covered in blood. As she stood confused, she turned to see everyone screaming and running to shore, their legs also stained crimson red. The lake water at the shore had turned to blood. Something terrifying lurked beneath. A boy who was just a step too slow was suddenly dragged underwater by a strange force. The water was filled with man-eating lampreys. They weren't just in the lake. They traveled through water pipes into town, invading swimming pools and homes. A girl entered a pool for a swim, but as soon as she submerged, she was attacked by lampreys, becoming a corpse. An elderly man using the bathroom failed to notice a lamprey emerging from the toilet. In the next moment, he felt a sharp pain in his buttocks. When he tried to escape, it was too late. The lamprey had burrowed into his body, leading to his death in the most humiliating way. The sheriff and his team arrived at the lake, attempting to close the dam valve. But suddenly, a lamprey latched onto the water worker's arm. He barely managed to tear it off when more and larger lampreys appeared in the water, lunging toward him on shore. Panicked, the worker collapsed to the ground, desperately crawling forward, refusing to stand and run. Within seconds, several lampreys had firmly attached to his body. Then a giant lamprey leaped onto his head, accompanied by agonizing screams. The 250-pound water worker was dragged into the water. The sheriff realized the valve couldn't be closed and broadcast warnings to avoid all water sources. But terrifyingly, the lampreys had evolved the ability to move on land, charging onto roads and attacking drivers. A female officer froze in fear, not choosing to drive over them, instead sitting foolishly in her car awaiting death, not even closing her windows. Eventually, the lampreys killed her. By the time the sheriff arrived for backup, her car was completely surrounded by lampreys. Faced with so many creatures, they were helpless, forced to watch as she was eaten alive. The two didn't dare linger, accelerating over the lampreys and continuing their journey. The sheriff planned to take his family to the mountains for safety. Unexpectedly, an electrical tower behind them suddenly collapsed, nearly killing them. The culprits were the lampreys, though they were electrocuted to death in the process. Seeing this, the sheriff had a sudden inspiration for killing all the lampreys. Used the nearby power station to electrocute them. The key step involved lamprey livers. Their scent could attract other lampreys to gather at the power station. The sheriff's team immediately took action, collecting enough livers and driving to the power station, throwing all the livers down a vertical shaft. Next, they just needed to wait for the lampreys to be attracted, then open the switch room to send electricity. But an accident occurred. To confirm if the lampreys had taken the bait, an assistant accidentally fell into the shaft. The sheriff tried to save him, but realized it was too late. Countless lampreys engulfed the assistant in an instant. With no choice, the sheriff climbed out of the shaft and shouted to turn on the power. His companion immediately flipped the switch. Massive electrical current instantly swept through the entire passage. All lampreys were electrocuted. The family, having survived the ordeal, embraced joyfully. The terrible disaster was finally over, and they had become heroes who saved the town.